So, Shadows of the Erdtree, will it keep to the glorious traditions of our great Elden Ring, or will it ruin all that the lands between has given us? Greetings, fellow Tarnished. Today we will be diving into a hot topic. Will Shadows of the Erdtree ruin Elden Ring? One concern with the DLC is that it may drive away new players. Elden Ring has gained a massive following, attracting both seasoned gamers and newcomers to the genre. But what happens when the DLC is released, and it's too difficult or frustrating for the average player? When we look back at previous titles in FromSoft's library, we have many examples that come to mind. If you look online, there are several lists about hardest bosses, and most of them are DLC bosses. Bloodborne has a couple on mini lists, with Orphan of Kos and Ludwig, to name a couple. As a bit of anecdotal evidence, my brother is a huge fan of FromSoft, and the Orphan of Kos had him livid for a good while. Other examples we as a community can look at is Sister Friede and Dark Eater Midir, which many of us can't stand either. With how Melania herself already sits the player base asunder with her difficulty spike being so high, she is on several lists as the hardest in Soulborne games. Even pros of the franchise had troubles with her after they figured out her gimmick. Personally, I enjoy platinuming games that I play, and at the time of recording this video, I'll have platinumed Elden Ring on the PS4 and the PS5. Even with my persistence, however, a boss much stronger than Melania might even stop someone like me from 100%ing the DLC. This might also stop less tenacious players from even trying the DLC or the game in general. Speaking of tenacity, you sure have showed it by sticking with me this far into the video. Why not click that subscribe button real quick and we can get back to the rest of the video. You know something that has taken forever to get done? No, I'm not talking about getting maidens, you foul-smelling excuse for a Tarnished. Get your mind out of the gutter. All of us have experienced the slow grind this game has had at reaching its current state of balance. With FromSoft's usual grace, we still have a large amount of normal spaghetti code. However, the game, for better or worse, has been worked into a decent state of balance. You know what ruins a well-balanced game? Adding things in that have to be more powerful in order to not be outpower creeped by new enemies. The game will undoubtedly add to face us. Game developers have to be careful when introducing new mechanics, weapons, and enemies through DLCs. If these additions are not properly balanced, it can disrupt the overall experience for players like us. Imagine facing overpowered enemies or grappling with new mechanics that throw the game's equilibrium off balance. It can lead to frustration and dissatisfaction, ultimately souring the entire experience. Thus far, FromSoftware has kept the PvP scene in Elden Ring decently fair for those of us who like that aspect of the game. I personally don't enjoy it due to it interrupting me helping friends who are just trying to beat the game. However, imagine Shadows of the Erdtree releasing a Rivers of Blood 2.0 situation into the DLC, and while not all of us hated the weapon pre-nerf, it still caused a small riot in the community, which took several patches to work out all the kinks in the weapon. It could cause more issues of unbalanced and sometimes unfair seeming PvP situations. Those of us in the know that all weapons have a weakness, but we also know that some skills, weapons, and spells could be a bit problematic. That's why there are several channels here on YouTube that cover how to overcome these issues. We can only hope that Miyazaki and his benevolence does not do this to us in the DLC again, like in the base game. So now, my ADHD-riddled warriors, let me ask you, what is something that a lot of games do when it comes to their DLC? Do they tend to give you immediate access to the content? Some games allow you to get right into the new content that you paid for. However, most of the community believe that Shadows of the Erdtree will have a lot to do with Mr. My older brother touched me in a bad way himself, Mikola. If this is the case, there's a good chance that the extended content could be locked into a very late part of the game with Mog's Domain. There are many speculations about where the entrance to this DLC will be, from a statue in the Lakes of Lernia to Mog's Domain, and as far as we know, if we start a new run, like I know many of you have in order to get ready for the DLC, we may not have access to these areas when the new content inevitably comes out. Additionally, players like you and I might worry about the impact of the DLC on the base game's content. Often, DLCs gate off certain areas or storylines, locking them behind additional paywalls. This practice, known as content lock-in, can be frustrating for us players who want to explore every aspect of the base game without feeling compelled to purchase extra content. It's essential for developers to strike a balance between providing new content and allowing players to fully enjoy the original game. So, Tarnished, I've decided to do you all a favor. What I did was delve deep into the Reddit community to see if anyone there had any concerns about the DLC, and after a lot of words, that the YouTube overlords wouldn't like on any channel, let alone mine. Along with several get good scrub-like comments, I was able to find a few concerns that even the most sweaty Dorito covered of us have about the DLC. I agree with several of these Redditors. Elden Ring is a great game, however we all have to admit that due to the size of the game, that they copy-pasted several of the enemies in this game, and this affected the uniqueness of several of the bosses, which was one of the biggest detractions people who played other games in the series had about the base game. Redditor Prosito hopes that the DLC increases the quality of the game by reducing the recycled enemies issue. Redditor Analytic Enthusiast is hoping that they give the combo of int/faith builds more love. I'm guessing he means spells that scale off of both, because we all know that the best staffs in the game already scale off these two stats. A lot of their concerns mirror what we've already talked about previously in this video, so I won't rehash any of that. However, like I've already stated, Elden Ring is a great game. There's a reason it won Game of the Year. So do you know what the biggest concern that there is with a DLC that is so anticipated? Elden Ring has already set high standards with us with its engaging gameplay, intriguing world, and challenging boss fights. The DLC must not only meet these expectations, but also surpass them to justify its existence. But what if the DLC falls short? It could leave you feeling disappointed and undermine the overall experience of the game. While the Elden Ring Shadows of the Erdtree DLC has the potential to enhance and expand the game, there are also legitimate concerns about its impact on the overall experience, the potential for driving away new players, unbalancing gameplay, content lock-in, and the burden of high expectations all need to be considered. As fans, we hope the developers have taken these concerns into account to deliver an exceptional DLC that enhances the game rather than detracts from it. Well, fellow Tarnished, if you made it to this point in the video, thank you so much. I've really enjoyed this game, and I know all of you have also, but I felt that no one was talking about the concerns that could be out there for the game we have all come to love so much. Even though I believe FromSoft will knock it out of the park like they always do, I wanted to see how many of you share my concerns. If you have any concerns of your own, why don't you leave them in the comments section below? And if you like discussion videos like this, why don't you click my We Need to Talk About Armored Core video? And with that, I'll see you again next time.